So let's talk selection in the second test of the summer series. I do know there's a couple of other series going on that I'm not being able to follow. Scotland are doing pretty well, trying lots of different players in a developmental tour of North and South America. France, from a PR point of view, is a bit of a disaster. They're all getting arrested and banned. Not so good there. But let's focus on these three. And a few changes for Wales. Injury enforced, it looks like. I think it does make the back three a little bit stronger. Hathaway, who really didn't have a very good debut, he's out, I think, injured, and they've shuffled it around, getting young Cameron Winnett back in at fullback, where he was for the Six Nations, looking pretty tidy. Liam Williams going to the wing. I was wondering whether it would be worth looking at Mason Grady on the wing, but they're sticking at him at 12. It really hasn't worked so far, so Rio Dyer stays on the wing where he's not been looking so good, to be honest. Grady and Watkin, can they conjure something? I'm just not so sure. Watkin, is he good enough at this level? Grady hasn't quite shown it yet. We know he's got that physical ability. They're sticking with Ben Thomas at 10, and he did pretty well in the last game, but is he a long-term 10? I just don't know. Sam Costello stays on the bench, as does Nick Tompkins, who just got ran clean around in the last game. So it's a tough ask because they've had to change their back row as well, and I think it's a slightly weaker back row. We've got Plumtree going to 8 where he doesn't normally play. Botham, I'm not sure he's top level at this level. Raffel as well, maybe a little bit smaller back row. A couple of players I did like in the last game were Archie Griffin at tight head. He's probably in a bit too young, but he does have some potential. I do like him, very strong for a youngster. And Chris Schwinzer looks like an absolute beast in the second row. Lake didn't have a great game in the first test, so he should be better. It's a shame they can't get Dylan Lewis back fit, at least on the bench, so that's a bit of a blow. I have been a bit negative about Wales's chances, and I'm kind of seeing it again. Let me know if you think I'm wrong and Wales have got the ability to beat this Australia team. I mean, they can do it. I'm just not seeing it. Sticking with Bevan at 9. Haven't quite been convinced by him yet either. Mackenzie come onto the bench. Mackenzie Martin even. He is a prospect for sure. Let's see if he can explode onto the game. They need a massive game. They just need a win from somewhere, but I'm not quite sure this is where it's coming. For Australia, just one change there. We see that Charlie Cale is in, a youngster from the Brumbies. So Valentini goes to 6, which he plays a lot anyway. McWright looks good at 7, so that's a nice back row, even though a shame to lose their captain Liam Wright. Elsewhere, it was nice to see Taniela Tupu fit and playing well. That's good. He's always had injuries in the past. Slipper is captain, as he has been a lot in the past, so that's not a problem. Staying with Jake Gordon and Lolosio as the halfbacks. Maybe not the best game for me. Gordon made some good decisions. Is he sharp enough around the base? I don't know. Lolosio's goal kicking was a bit off, but his general game was pretty good, and they're rotating a bit on the bench. Nick White, the experienced halfback, is in there. He's still got plenty to offer. And Ben Donaldson, you'll probably remember from the World Cup, he's a tidy player as well, good goal kicker. So trying a few new things there, but they looked fairly joined up. They knew what they were doing, that is for sure. Are they going to be too good for Wales? My guess would be yes, but it could be a big performance for Wales. They need something to get hold of and say we are building towards the future. So let's have a look at this England team to take on New Zealand. Was that their biggest chance in that first test? You kind of think so, because they just don't lose at Eden Park. Plus, it's now their second hit out. They should be better, certainly coordinated for the second test. The All Blacks. So the change obviously was going to be in the front row where Marler is out injured, and it is a start for Finn Baxter. You know, what a debut it was last week for Baxter. I thought he did well. Now his first start. A big rise for him. England need some young props to come through, and they've got a lot of young loose heads now on tour. You've got Baxter, you've got Rod, you've got a Yogan, and hopefully those guys from the under-20s are going to be coming through as well. Certainly Asher Opoku-Fajor and Billy Seller are looking good for the 20s, so hopefully something coming through in the youth for the England props there. Then the rest of the team, unsurprisingly, is unchanged. I think this is the best team. Maybe Sam Underhill was a little bit quiet last game. Burnell maybe didn't have his biggest game. Cunningham South, certainly lots of talk, him getting taken off too early. I said it in my match report. Is he going to play a little bit longer? But I like the engine room. Toji and Martin, I thought, were very powerful. And in the backs, Mitchell certainly controlled the game. Smith showed his attacking potential. The big question is, of course, Who's going to kick at goal? Well, I'm sure it's going to be Smith again. Borthwick will say, have another go. You don't want to dent their confidence. But if it's going badly again, do they switch to Slade, who's been kicking so well? I did say maybe it's worth getting Freeman in at 13 at some point. I wonder if that's the case. He carries on the wing. He's been a bit quiet. Freeman is very good chasing kicks, so he needs to get some of those contestable kicks back to kind of justify his place, I guess. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more of Slight home, but pretty settled for England. Big start for Baxter. What's going to happen in that scrum? That is a biggie. I'm sure they've been talking to the refs saying, watch out for De Groot's body height, etc. Trying to get as much parity in that scrum as possible at least. For the All Blacks, it's just one change, and that's injury enforced. Perenara is out. If he was fit, I'm sure he'd be starting. So they're just bumping up Finlay Christie to the starting lineup. Is he an All Black 9? I'm still not fully convinced. I did say in a pinned comment in my last video on the matter that maybe I'd start Ratimer because I think he's got a lot of potential. Plus, you then get the Chiefs pairing of Ratimer and McKenzie. But a big game for Christie to show what he can do. The pack went very well. Like I said before, Ethan de Groot, all eyes will be on his scrummaging position, but it was very powerful. Barrett and Tuipulotu provided a lot of ballast in the second row, particularly Tuipulotu, and there's good balance to the back row. Can they play even bigger? Yeah, you'd think they'd be better for that first hit out at Eden Park. It's going to be such a tricky proposition for England. Damien McKenzie, similar to Smith, goal kicking wise maybe, a few questions. Rieko Ioane carries on at 13, but I think his position's maybe a little bit shaky. Does Leonard Brown come on for some good time there? Perifetta is under pressure from the experience of Bowden Barrett, but he performed so well. He retains, so I think that's about right, but I imagine we're going to see that change again when Barrett comes on at 15. Anyway, pretty settled for New Zealand. They're going to be a bit more confident having that win under their belt, having that extra playing and training time. Big ask for England. They need to be tidier with their goal kicking, tidier with their scrummaging, and still show that same attacking intent. But that kind of trick, if you like, has been shown. The rush defence, I mean, New Zealand knew it was coming, but it's the first time they saw it live, and they definitely caught the likes of McKenzie and Barrett just before they could get their play going. So they're going to be a bit more aware of that. Are they going to tighten up to start with? Are they going to hit some tight lines to make sure that rushing outside defence is completely useless the first couple of times, or chips in behind? That'll be interesting. Or do they go wide straight away when they attack? Let me know what you think of those teams. And South Africa are unsurprisingly unchanged. When I made my selections, I did make the cheeky suggestion that Feinberg and Ngomazulu maybe could get a start at 10 to get some experience. I know Pollard kicked poorly, but he played pretty well apart from that. One thing they did do really well was spread the ball wide very, very quickly. We're seeing lots of attacking intent, I think, from South Africa. Not a boring team at all. They scrummage massive, of course. They carry huge. Sometimes their shapes aren't particularly complex, but they don't have to be, and they can score tries, even if it's chasing kicks. I think they're an exciting team to watch, definitely. We've got that bomb squad, of course, of Mark, Steenkamp and Koch coming on, which is awesome. 2 second rows, so much power. The same side, I think we should see another win. I think they're going to be very confident they can do it. Ireland need a huge performance, considering, for these Northern Hemisphere sides, it's the end of a very long season. That started, of course, in the World Cup. You'd expect a win for South Africa, but do Ireland have something up their sleeve? So after seeing those teams, do you think it's going to be a 6-0 sweep, or can someone from the North get a win? I'd made a prediction of 5-1 because I thought surely one of these Northern Hemisphere teams is going to get a win, but maybe not. Let me know what you think of those teams. Comment below, subscribe, like, that would be awesome, and I'll catch you next time.